It happened on a slow, golden afternoon at the park. A little girl stood frozen on the path, her tiny hands trembling as she whispered, "I'm scared of dogs." Beside her, a retired K-9 named Ranger, gray-muzzled, gentle-eyed, lowered his head as if he understood. And in that tender stillness, something unexpected began. This story begins with Tom, a former police officer who had served his city for almost 25 years. After years in the K-9 unit, he retired along with his loyal partner, Ranger, a German shepherd who once chased criminals, searched for missing people, and protected officers with unwavering courage. Now, Ranger spent his days like any old hero would, sunbathing by the porch, sniffing flowers in the backyard, and accompanying Tom on peaceful afternoon walks. Tom loved these slow moments. After decades of adrenaline and danger, the quiet life felt like a blessing. Just across the street lived a young mother, Sarah, and her 7-year-old daughter, Lily. They had moved in a few months earlier, and though Tom often waved at them, he noticed something unusual. Every time Ranger stepped outside, Lily would pull her mother's hand and hide behind her. Her eyes would widen in fear, and her small voice would squeak, "Asterisk, is he out? Is the dog out? Asterisk." Tom never took it personally. He just felt a little ache in his chest. Ranger, after all, was gentle. He had seen enough of the world to know how to soften around fragile hearts. One afternoon, as Tom and Ranger passed by the neighborhood playground, he overheard Sarah explaining gently, "Sweetie, not all dogs are scary. Some are very kind." But Lily shook her head hard and clung tighter to her mother's coat. Tom didn't want to interfere, but for some reason, her fear stayed with him. A week later, something happened that brought all three of them face to face. Tom and Ranger had gone for their usual late afternoon walk. The air smelled like rain, and the sky had turned a soft shade of gray. They were nearing the park when Tom noticed Sarah on a bench, looking around anxiously. Her voice trembled as she called out, "Lily? Lily, where are you?" Tom's heart dropped. He jogged toward her. "Sarah, what's wrong?" "She was right here. She was just playing on the swings. I turned around for 1 second, and..." Her voice broke. "She's gone." Before Tom could speak, Ranger stepped forward, nose lifted, ears alert. It was the posture Tom knew very well, the old instincts waking up. Tom knelt beside him. "Do you smell her, boy? Go on, find her." Ranger started moving, slowly at first, then with intent. Sarah's hands shook. I don't know if I can trust." Tom placed a steady hand on her shoulder. He spent years finding lost children. If anyone can help, it's Ranger. They followed the dog past the playground, across the little footbridge, and toward a cluster of bushes near the creek. Then, in a quiet, shaky voice, they heard, "Mom." Lily was sitting at the edge of the creek, hugging her knees. When she saw the big dog emerge from the brush, she gasped and scooted back. Her chin trembled. Please don't come close." Ranger froze. He didn't move an inch. He simply laid down slowly, gently, his belly against the damp grass, ears lowered. A dog that once charged into danger now lay as soft as a stuffed animal. Tom whispered, "He won't touch her. He's letting her choose." Sarah rushed to Lily and wrapped her in her arms. "I'm sorry, Mommy," Lily cried. "I didn't mean to run. I just got scared by a bee." Sarah kissed her forehead. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now." But Lily kept staring at Ranger, waiting for him to lunge, to bark, to do something frightening. He didn't. Instead, he rested his head on his paws and let the rain begin to fall around him. Something in Lily's expression softened, just a little. That night, Sarah came to Tom's house. "Tom," she said quietly, "thank you. And please thank Ranger for me." Then she hesitated. "There's something you should know." Tom nodded, inviting her inside. "When Lily was 4, she began. She was bitten by a neighbor's dog. It wasn't trained. It wasn't even supervised. Ever since then, she panics at the sight of any dog, big or small." Tom's chest tightened. "I'm so sorry." Sarah wiped a tear. But today, Ranger didn't bark or run toward her. He didn't scare her. He just stopped, like he knew she was terrified. Tom looked down at Ranger, who was sleeping peacefully by the fireplace. He does know. Dogs like him, they feel things, especially fear. And they know exactly how to be gentle when someone needs it. Sarah smiled faintly. "Lily said something before bed. Something I didn't expect." She took a breath. She said, "Mommy, maybe that dog is different." Tom felt his throat tighten. Over the next few days, Lily began doing something unbelievable. Whenever Ranger was outside, she would peek through her window. Sometimes she'd wave, just a quick, shy flick of her hand. Other times, she'd step onto the porch, staying behind her mother, but closer. Ranger never pushed. He simply wagged his tail softly, like he was encouraging her at her own pace. Then came the afternoon that would change everything. Tom and Ranger were sitting on the porch when Lily approached holding a small paper cup. Her voice wavered. Mr. Tom? I brought water. For Ranger. Tom looked at Ranger. Well now, look at that boy. Someone brought you a treat. Lily set the cup down on the top step, careful not to get too close. Ranger looked at the cup, then looked at her. And instead of drinking, he did something surprising. He pushed the cup gently toward her with his nose. Almost like he was saying, "Asterisk you first. I trust you, asterisk." Lily blinked. Her fear melted just enough for curiosity to take its place. She dipped her finger in the water and reached out, just barely, toward Ranger. Her fingertip brushed the top of his nose. Ranger didn't move. He didn't flinch. He simply closed his eyes in calm acceptance. And then Lily whispered the words Tom would never forget. "He's warm." It was such a small moment, but sometimes healing begins in whispers. From that day forward, Lily's steps became braver. At first, she asked if she could sit near Ranger, maybe a few feet away. Then she asked if she could read him stories. She would sit on the porch and open her picture books, reading softly while Ranger listened with patient eyes. One morning, Sarah looked out her window and froze. Lily was sitting beside Ranger, actually touching him. Her tiny hand rested on his fur as she read. And Ranger, the old hero, had laid his head gently in her lap. Sarah covered her mouth, tears falling freely. That evening, she told Tom, "I think Ranger gave her something I couldn't, a reason to trust again." Tom smiled with a quiet pride. He's been doing that his whole life. But the most beautiful moment came a month later. The neighborhood held its annual spring picnic. Families gathered under blooming trees, and children ran across the field chasing bubbles and laughter. Lily saw Ranger lying beside Tom under the shade of an oak tree. She actually ran toward them. "Ranger," she called out. The old dog lifted his head. His tail thumped softly against the grass. Lily knelt beside him and hugged him around the neck. Tom saw Sarah standing a few steps away, pressing a hand to her heart, overwhelmed. Lily whispered something into Ranger's ear. Tom leaned closer. "What did you tell him, sweetheart?" She smiled shyly. "I told him, I'm not scared anymore, because he showed me how to be brave." Ranger responded the only way he knew, by closing his eyes and leaning gently into her embrace. The sun dipped low, casting warm golden light across the field. Families watched, their hearts touched by the unlikely friendship forming before their eyes. In a world that often moves too fast, this moment felt like a reminder. A reminder that healing doesn't always come from grand gestures or big miracles. Sometimes, it comes from a retired K9 who has nothing left to prove, except that love still exists. And so, a little girl who once trembled at the sight of a dog found comfort in the presence of one who had spent his life protecting others. Ranger didn't just help her overcome fear. He restored her trust, her courage, and her ability to love. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can change someone's world. Would you like me to turn this into a formatted YouTube voiceover script, add scene directions, or generate a version with background music cues?